Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is the podcast. We're called the Bunny Hog Farmers. My name's Tyler Janin. I'm here with my co-host, Dallas Leduc, and we have a special guest on the podcast this week, Kale Marks, or as many of you know him as Kale on TikTok.
Thanks, Kale, for coming and joining us today. I've followed Kale for a long time. You are so entertaining how you start your projects and how you document basically every day of your life on TikTok. And I kind of can't wait for my daily, new video to show up in my feed. So, Kale, I'd like to thank you for coming in and joining us here. And we just want to just kind of know how you got started into your TikTok journey. And obviously, we're an agriculture-based podcast, so how you got to where you are in your farm.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I don't make you regret it too much.
We didn't regret Nick. We'll never regret anybody else.
Should be good then. Well, do you want to start way back when or just with the TikTok?
Start way back when.
Okay. Well, so I'm living more central Alberta now, but I was born down southern Alberta, just north of Lethbridge in a town called Lomond. Very small, like county cop drives through the town once every Thursday kind of thing. So it's kind of like Wild Wild West a little bit still there. But we farmed down there, and it was, I left there when I was 10. We sold out to the Hutterites, but kind of family farm stuff, the dynamic. My grandpa ran the show, but didn't do much of the work anymore, just kind of was the foreman, and had my dad and my uncle doing most of it, but mostly my dad. There was a little lead away on the evenness of the work there. But looking back, I think we had it wasn't a huge farm, but like 17 quarters kind of thing. I think your summer following and whatnot. Still really set in the old ways. Like we never did move up to an air seeder down there. We just stayed with hoe drills and all that. Then in 2000, we moved up north here because it was the land where it rained every day and things were great, and we were going to go more ranching and run cows real heavy. And I don't know if that was 01 or whenever Mad Cow hit. So we got up here just in time for that. So that was a bit of damper, and a big drought for about 5 years up here that everyone says never happens up here. So we came here just in time for that after reorganizing everything.
And that would suck. Move to where it's supposed to rain lots and bring the drought with you. I'm sure the neighbors weren't too happy with you.
Oh, no. And down south, it started raining. So they were probably happier than they should have been to see us go, I guess. But either way. So, yeah, then we mainly tried to ranch. And the old man, had to get a normal job and all that. And so going to school, there was only a couple of years where I had to do, real rancher chores. Like coming home from school at 14 and feeding cows and all that. There's probably only 2 years we had enough cows where I actually had to really do that kind of stuff. I was kind of spoiled that way, I guess, staying fairly small. But then I guess the hard side is in about 2012, 13, the whole farm was split half with my uncle, and he decided he was done. It worked enough, which was not near half the work, but it was enough for him. So we sold out all the equipment again. So left us flat-footed again. And the old man was lucky enough, he was smart and bought back some of the equipment at the auction because everything went for nothing. Like that 2590 case I still use, I guess they bought that in 83. But it went through that sale, and it was going to bring $6,000. So the old man bought it back, $3,000 for his half and be done with it. So we kind of clawed back some of the couple of pieces there that were actually good. And then we went renting the land out. That was the uncle's big plan, was we're going to rent the land and be rich, which none of us could see where that was going to go. But the old man didn't want to have a big fight and try and split the farm again. So he kind of just coasted with the idea, and it was not the best business plan at all. So did that for 3 or 4 years, and then finally I was at the time when we split everything up, I was working in a mine doing my apprenticeship for heavy duty, and they had been bought by a company in the States and the big layoffs, and I was ready to leave, and I got laid off, so I was happy as can be there. So that's when I really pitched to the old man, why don't we just start farming some of these quarters and get back into it? it can't be that hard. Maybe that's where I went wrong. But it it's been good since. Like it's tough, all old equipment, and I really like the old equipment. I try and stay there, but definitely not spoiled with the way we do things. It's not always the easiest, but a lot more control of life now and direction of the farm, which is all at least it's in. I see it as being in my hands. Now we can start moving in the right direction. Whereas before, it was more just a big family fight that ended up in no movements in any direction, and that stalemate really hindered the farm for years. So it's kind of the ups and downs of a family farm for sure.
Oh yeah, we've all been there for sure. I mean, I farmed basically pretty. I graduated in '95, and then I left for a year or so. And basically, Dad told me, in spring of '97, I need a hired man. I can't do it by myself. So yeah, I want you to come home. So I left my welding job in Regina and I moved home. And besides the odd winter in the oil patch just to pay the bills, I've been here ever since. But family farms are always such a tough dynamic. It's so impossible to come up with a blueprint of how to make that work correct. And that's, and that's what we're trying to share on some of this podcast is everybody's journeys and struggles that we all have, because nobody that I know has ever had just that silver spoon and it's been easy. The guys that have had the silver spoon have basically just shit it out and ruined the place because they didn't know how to keep it alive and keep it growing and keep it moving forward.
The one thing I've seen with the guys that have had the silver spoon, they're not farming many years after the old man steps away and they take over. I've seen it a couple times in my short farming career.
So, Kale, how was your guys' crops up there? You guys look like you had not a bad crop compared to what we had down here in God's country down in the south.
Well, it's hard to judge because I'm in a weird pocket. There's a power plant, coal mine, like that's where I did my apprenticeship. That's northwest of us, like 8 miles. And that cooling pond just releases so much hot air that any of those little rainstorms coming through, they split around it and they just miss all of our land perfectly every time. Like, if you go 15 minutes east of here, I think their land got about 10 inches more rain last year. So it gets difficult to judge. And last year we had an okay amount of rain, but all at the wrong points for us. So the none of the crops were overly amazing. I know a bunch of the barley was doing 50, 55 bushels. Nothing stood out great, but the only saving grace I've had is so far with all the marketing, I've sold at the highest I've seen for everything. So that's about all you can ask for at that point.
That's good because don't follow my grain marketing skills. I can find the low in every crop because then I've waited. I'm broke. I have to pay the bills. The men need to be paid. I will sell today and the price will go up tomorrow. So don't follow me. So follow Kale.
Yeah, no, and I've lucked out. Like got mad and I messed up and I should have took the weed off earlier. I should have moved fields, but I had to move across the whole farm. And I said, well, it can wait. And it was a bad move and it started raining and I finally got that weed off and it was something like 15.8 protein, but the bushels weren't great. And then it was also, I believe it was 16%. And I thought, oh, how am I going to move this? And had to worry and thought about buying a little batch dryer. And finally, I just talked to Buddy, who runs the grain broker by me I went to school with. And he said, well, with that protein, we'll ignore the high moisture. And I think I moved it at 9 or 950, something like that. So right off the field at high moisture, I went, that has to be a win. Just do it. The hell with it.
Yeah, because sometimes the off the combine price, you think it almost sucks at the time, and then you look back and you go, man, I wish I would have sold it all off the combine.
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot because I dumped so much of it in that. That's a 42 by 150 hay shed is what it really is, Quonset. And I drop grain in there, and it's fine, but picking it up every year is a fight. And you wonder if it's worth it or not, but the fact of the matter comes down to we're not really set up to be moving it all off the field quick enough to an elevator to stop the combines. And in this area, it's really bad for being a dry summer and just start raining in the fall. So if you can have those combines running, do not stop them. I would rather fight and pick that off the ground again.
And that's been very entertaining in your TikTok channel you have there. You have grain in that building, and then we've all followed along here. I know I have, and lots of other guys have too. Followed along as you've taken a drag from a different bin, different system, settle up the struggle and the fights, the time it and everything, and make it work has been really entertaining. And then I love how you argue with some guys on TikTok, basically telling them that you're right and it doesn't really matter what they say, that you'll make this system work. And you have. I mean, that thing's massive. It looks big and heavy, but, you ran the numbers there and you explained to the world that economically, in your situation, to fill that building full of grain and take the time and the effort and build a big drag is by far cheaper than a bin or a hopper or whatever. So, but also not to lead into this too. You're quite the mechanic. Like, you're not just no shade tree mechanic. You went to school for it, right?
Yeah, I did. When I worked at that mine, they sent me through to do my heavy duty, and that all went pretty good. I'm not suited for a big company by any means, but my own schedule kind of thing, I really been put into the situation before where you really have no choice but to make it work. So if I was to have an actual job doing mechanic again, it'd have to be like a bush mechanic where we're not fixing it to the book perfectly, but we're 5 hours out in the bush and we're making it back to town so it can get fixed. Like, I think that's where I would strive and do best. But yeah, it's got to think outside the box and make it work for you.
Well, a lot of these new young mechanics, they're just parts changers. If they can't diagnose it and just unplug one part and plug a new part in, their mechanic skills are done. Or, the ability to retime and gear and change sprockets and pulleys and measure belts. And even when you're going through the book there, sometimes I have to say, you lose me. I am not a numbers guy and reading guy like that. I'm a hands-on guy. So that's why I'm a welder, because you don't really learn much reading when you went to welding school. It was all experience.
Yeah, well, when you put too much heat to something and it warps and doesn't fit anymore, you just learn the hard way.
Oh,
yeah. I was lucky. I was lucky when I was at the mine there. They had some amazing welders, and I was pretty scatterbrained. And it was funny. Electrician apprentices were not allowed to be on night shift, but mechanic apprentices were. Yeah, you can even go on night shift without a journeyman around. It's totally fine then. So I spent a lot of night shifts there alone, and there was a welder there, and I'd go and just learn to weld just to change things up. So, and they were old, like, Bucyrus, Erie, Marion, dragline welders. Like, they did some big stuff and pretty well everything except sub-arc. So I got to learn about gouging and all that. Like, for the size of our farm, for me to have a gouger set up on the service truck ready to go is kind of a odd thing, I think, but I saw the value in something little like that, and why not have it? So it's kind of making the best of the old stuff.
Well, like, especially when you're running that older machinery and you have the skills and the ability to take it apart and put it back together, you need the tools. And without the tools, the knowledge is useless if you don't have the tools.
Yeah. And so many people get caught up in thinking the tools are all brand new Snap-on stuff. I run all this Canadian Tire cheap stuff. Whatever has the best warranty, like, you can make it work, because at least I can't get that. I'm cutting that wrench in half, and I'm getting that. I don't care about the wrench. It's not, oh, that's an expensive Snap-on. No, that's a cheap wrench, and it's going in that hole. It's going to fit.
We have one of them drawers in our shop, too, where it's, oh, we need to pull this fuel pump off. We don't have the special wrench. Well, fire up the torch. We're going to make a wrench.
Oh, yeah. The special tool drawers, we've made lots of them. But you're also one of them guys, you're nice and close to the city. We had Matt James on here last, and he's 15 minutes outside of Winnipeg and next to the Princess Auto and PV Mart. His ability to get stuff is quick and handy.
Yeah, I am definitely spoiled that way compared to where I grew up, because I never got to see that battle. There's so many things the old man would do back then I never understood. Now I was like, why would you do that? He goes, there was no parts. It was like back in the day, there wasn't this big parts supply. Whereas now there's two different Princess Autos within 45 minutes of me. And there's Niskayu's not real far for me, and the amount of oil field stuff you can cross over if you're willing to go looking, like air seeder hose I buy from a oil field place, and they beat everyone's prices, and it's actual air seeder hose, and I don't know what they use it for, but you can source things out if you want to do the footwork.
I noticed lately, now it's wintertime, you got a pile of sleds going on there, and it seems like you work a sled right through an entire project. Like you said in other times I've talked to you before, it just helps, the videoing it helps you stay focused and stay on task. Just kind of explain that to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I'm not pretty. I'm very scatterbrained and, a dreamer, all these projects, and we're going to get to them all. And you never get to them all. And you could do this and that. And at least by I found just showing people on TikTok that, hey, look, here's this project I have in mind and we could do this. And if there's a lot of interest and people are bugging you about it, well, okay, I guess I can make a video on that today. And then, that 2 days later, I guess I'll work on it some more and make a video about it. And it just keeps you guided in getting things accomplished. Because otherwise there's times where I get real bad and I'll be in the shop and I need to get something done, but I'll have 3 projects in the shop and I'll work on one for 15 minutes and just next thing you know, I'm sitting there playing on the phone. Okay, well, let's walk over to this other project for 15 minutes and I'll start bouncing around. If something catches my interest and locks me in and get something done. So, I'm lucky enough that harvest seeding, like the goal is so big that, if the combine goes down, I can just focus and do it. But on those, it's really for those projects that aren't priority, but do need to get done. It really keeps me in line there.
It's keeping us, on TikTok all entertained, because I know more about a Mikuni carburetor now than I ever knew before.
It's like anything else. Everyone, they decide in their mind that it's a carb and they don't understand it, but it's so simple once you break it down. And like that goes to the troubleshooting with the mechanics too. Everyone overthinks it. They're looking at this whole tractor split with parts scattered everywhere. Back up. There's a troubleshooting tree. There's an order of things. You're not splitting that tractor. You're taking those 4 bolts out for the front drive shaft. Okay, now you're putting jacks under that. Now you're unhooking those hoses for the steering. So, don't look at the whole project. Break it down in simple steps. I always joke that I could sit anyone with no mechanic ability whatsoever in the shop, and if I could just yell at them enough, step by step, they'll get through it. They just need direction.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Like, I'm mechanically inclined myself, but anywhere near to the level you are or a Red Seal. And just listening to you talk about that, like it's not a big project to split a tractor. It's you take this off, and oh shit, you got it split. That wasn't that bad. That's a whole new perspective to look at it that way that I never even saw myself.
Yeah, I think most people get in their own heads and get in their way, and if you feel defeated, you are, like, whether you think you can do it or you can't do it, you're right. And I get caught in it the odd time. Like someone will give me a job, like, oh, if that went wrong, we'll have to try and do this, and we'll have to ship it here. Like, I don't have the tools, and I'm defeated. There's no point. Like, even with hiring a mechanic, when you bring up a job, if they start, oh no, what about this? And oh, that could go bad. Take it somewhere else, because they're not invested. They're not involved. You're not going to get quality work. They're just going to scab through it as quick as they can. On your own equipment, you can get away with that here and there. Like, there's been times I've done it to myself. Like, we're doing it the cheap and easy way, and if it fails, we'll deal with it then. But if you go into a project where no big deal, we're going to get through it. I'm sure there's going to be something tricky along the way, but we'll figure it out.
One example of that is that welder that you just recently worked on for a neighbor, it was, or something?
Yeah, buddy of mine. Stupid thing.
I would have garbaged it.
The amount of people on that video, like, oh, well, it was this. I said, yeah, I told you it was that. Like, it's easy with anything. It's easy working backwards to the solution. Like, if I told you this was wrong, what are some things that would show up? And you can say, oh, maybe it's doing this or that. It's not so hard, but it's going the proper way that gets a little more difficult when there's little catches or surprises throughout the way.
But it's all that knowledge and experience you have just keeps getting better and better all the time. How you can break down a project and having that knowledge to know, oh yeah, splitting the tractor's not hard. 4 bolts here, 6 bolts there, 10 bolts there, a couple of jacks here. Before you know it, it's split. Because the rest of the world might just split a tractor and they just start to panic. When we had Nick on here the other day, he went out, he was buzzed. He said he was bailing in the morning, blew a rear seal, ran home, ran to Moosomin, split the tractor, ran to Moosomin for a seal, and he was back baling by about 4 o'clock that night just because he knew how to do it. That's the big thing where the rest of the world would just be afraid and panic and go tractor shopping.
Well, you do anything enough, you're going to get quick at it. Like, I was ready to burn a sled down today, but I rewound that recoil 6 times, and I was pretty quick by the end of it. It's just, the more you do it, you get used to things. Things aren't such a big deal. And it's not even that if it's a big deal or not. You just get that confidence in your head that I can do this. I've done it before. So now it's not a big deal.
Yeah. No, I can remember we used to have a farm truck here. It was a 95 Chevy. And if anybody knows them late 90s Chevy trucks, the interior door handles are famous for breaking. Well, the first one, it took me about 2 hours to replace it. By the time that truck was getting to the end of its lifespan, I could do it in about 10 minutes.
Speaking of the end of its lifespan, Kale, you got some more entertaining stories I need to learn more about. It blows me away that you were a PBR bull rider for quite a few years. I need to know more about that.
Yeah, it was, I wasn't from a real rodeo family. Like, my mom and my dad both rode steers when they were young, but, the old man that with farming couldn't really lead to go any farther. So he was a steer rider. So for the rest of my life, I got told how to ride bulls because he rode steers kind of thing. But, yeah, I kind of started, like, I rode just some amateur stuff when I was 15, 16, 17. Snapped my leg off real bad at 17, I believe, amateur stuff. And for the next couple of years, I'd get on some bulls, but I took nothing serious. And eventually at the point, I must have been 22, 23 in there, if I was, okay, I need to start doing this or not. So then I started getting on tons of practice bulls, going to Olds, going to Vermilions. I think Old was Tuesday nights, and just getting on a ton of bulls. And then I finally started doing some more amateur stuff, and WRA, LRA, I think I might do FC one year, and that all went okay. I was never right at the top, but I was somewhat competitive. But then I started coasting. I kind of was losing drive again. It was just going through the motion kind of thing. So I, in 2015, bought my PBR card and my CPRA card, which, with the way I was riding, I had no business doing. But, dive in, and just surrounding yourself by people at that level will really motivate you and push you. So that first year PBR, I think what was that? On my birthday, I won Edgerton PBR. So that was a fairly big deal because, like, a PBR, you see guys who have won all these PBRs, but there's guys around them, if you start paying attention, that are good riders, and they've never won a PBR. So it's easy to brush off, like, oh, I won one, but it's kind of, if you really look at it, especially at was a skillful rider. It was more just a determination and try, and, well, I'm just not going to quit. That kind of got me where I was. There was no talent involved. I can just say that for sure.
I think you're lying there. You don't win by having no talent. Not unless you're the only person that held on for 8 seconds and the other 25 guys just went for a flight. I guess then you can win that way.
Well, it was kind of funny because bull riding such a young kids growing up and going different ways of how they want to go through their life. Like, so many kids that were so talented, but not an ounce of try in them. And then other kids that all the try, but no talent. And no one could ever, like, very few have that good mix of both. Like, they were just, like, my brother's a better example. My brother was extremely talented. And he went into the States lots riding, and he went a lot farther than I did. And it was always he was the younger brother, but it was good. It wasn't like a competitive thing. Because that's the funny thing with bull riding is, like, I was never good with team sports because the team, in a losing situation, I always found the team kind of turns on each other a little bit. Well, it's his fault, that fault. They could have done that better. With bull riding, it was always a you versus the bull. And although my brother, this person, buddy, all these people are against me, they're not against me. They're against the bull. And whoever ends up on top ends up top. So it's one of the weird sports where you're against each other, but you cheer each other on and would help each other as much as you can. Like, you'll jump in the arena and help someone if they're in a bind, even though they're against you, kind of deal.
That's amazing. I mean, my brother-in-law's team roped, the CCA for years, and so I went to a lot of rodeos and that. But this, the watch what's going on up there has always just been amazing, and especially me having zero talent when it comes to anything. I've played around on the rope for many a times, and I look so foolish next to guys that are basically professionals, and I can't throw a rope to save my life. And I definitely couldn't ride a bull to save my life. I can barely ride a motorbike.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of mind over matter also, and a lot of muscle memory too. It's kind of, if you can get someone who won't think but is athletic, you can kind of just trick them into riding bulls. Like, you could just tell them, just do these motions, don't think, do this, react, like, and not to like a super high level, but like, it goes well. Like, I've seen people get on bulls first time ever, like an old practice pen. Just, they're in college and they're drunk and they said they're going to. And you just break it down like, okay, do this, do that. Do not overthink. Shut up and do it. And some of them will. And you go, holy hell, look at that. I'm a teacher. And I had no teaching. Bull riding wise, I had no business teaching anyone. It's not my thing.
A little liquid courage goes a long ways.
Yeah, well, it's mind over matter. You're not thinking about it at that point. You're just doing.
I never thought of it. There's a lot of probably technique when you're on a bull, trying to, when he shifts one way, you just know to shift the other or back and forth. And, balance and agility would be a major part. But I know I would break every bone. So even as a young man, I was always afraid that I'd just hurt myself. So that I'd never do.
Yeah, well, when you're getting on, when I was going hard, how many bulls would I be getting on? Like 4 or 5 PBR, like top string bulls a weekend. And I never worked out. I still didn't take it as serious as I could have. But I was thinking this other day, I'm pulling a transmission on the Chev right now. And it's stupid because you use the transmission jack with the adapter to hold the tranny so you can lower it nicely. But if you jack the truck up too high, it can't reach it. And if you keep it low enough, now it can't slide out from under the truck without hitting the frame rail. So you still have to take the tranny off the jack underneath the truck. And I was thinking about this. Back when I was rodeoing, I had this 91 Dodge rodeo van, kind of half camper van. We rode it in with the amateurs like crazy. It was great. But the tranny went out of that. And when I put that thing back in, I was under that van and I lifted that tranny up onto my knees. I put the torque converter in, like I'm on my back, and I lifted that overdrive Dodge tranny, a 518, up over my head on my knees and with my hands, and installed it on the back of that 318 without a jack. And there's no way in hell I could do that now. And I never thought I was strong at the time, but I was thinking about that and go, well, maybe I was a little strong from riding bulls.
What was your worst injury you ever had riding bulls?
Actual worst or what sounds the worst?
Well, we can do both.
Well, I was at a little, what was that? Just an open bull riding up a cold lake, and had this bull step right on the back of my neck and on my shoulder blade, face first into the ground. And I get up and I'm leaking from my nose, walk over to the side, and I'm not feeling good. So we go up the side. They said, well, you made the short go. Do you want it? I said, no. And my brother's right there. You pussy. You ain't going to take your short go bull. And I went, no, go away. I'm not feeling good here. So we all go back to Vermilion, where we're staying at Buddy's house. They're all going to the bar. You coming? I said, nope. I'm going to sit on the couch. And they all yelled at me for that. The way home the next day, we got a little brother has to get home to feed cows. I said, I think we need to stop at the hospital and get some x-rays. And he's mad at me again. You pussy. And I went, no, my neck does not feel good. So go to the hospital, they take x-rays. No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay. So then 2 days later, I'm doing a clutch on this little John Deere. It's a little like 2010. Terrible little cabless tractor. I hate those things after that tractor. And the hospital calls me and they said, what are you doing? You need stop whatever you're doing. I said, I'm changing the clutch. They go, your neck is broken. I went, oh, well, that's nice to know now, 3 days later. So, and that's where the hospital stopped. The hospital, we told him his neck's broken. He is good. Like, they didn't care a bit more than that. So my only saving grace is my chiropractor, who actually cares. So I'm talking to him. I go, well, I'd like to know when I can get on bulls again. He said, well, you know what? Let's send you for bone scans, and they will have all the answers since the hospital doesn't care. They send me for bone scans, and they come back. They go, oh, well, your nose is broken, which I knew. Your neck's broken, and your shoulder blade's broken. So, oh, well, that's nice. How did they miss all of that at the hospital? He goes, oh, I don't know, but you'll be good to get on bulls in 5 weeks. It's not that bad. So, and in 5 weeks, I was in Vermilion getting on bulls, and it was stiff and sore, but it wasn't really that bad.
Good chiropractor is an amazing thing. I visit one pretty well every second week just to keep my tortured old back and neck going. But yeah, that's amazing that the doctors your first go around didn't catch the broken neck and the broken collarbone, broken shoulder, and that's just that's not right. 3 days later, after somebody reviewed the X-rays, then they're like, "Well, better stop this guy from doing something as you're changing a clutch."
Yeah, it was my views on the Canadian healthcare system are not nice. We can put it that way.
Neither are mine. I thought, but we've tried not to delve too much into politics here yet, but someday I guess we're gonna have to.
We'll say that and we'll move on. But yeah, I don't know.
Agreed.
For my worst wreck, when I did break my knee off at 17, the doctor wanted to amputate. He said it just will be safer if we amputate. Because I broke my tibia plateau, so the whole socket of your knee, I split in half. So he said, wow, it's way safer to amputate. And I said, well, I don't really give a shit about what's safer. You're going to try and save my leg. Like, is it a risky surgery? Well, not overly. You could have a blood clot and have some issues and all that. But it's just kind of tricky. I said, well, you best do it. I don't care about if it's tricky. You're doing it. And they did. And he was right. 3 days later, I did have a blood clot and have a bunch of cold sweats in the middle of the night. And they had to do what was that called? The nurses will be mad at me. A fasciotomy, I think it was. They split both sides of my leg, like 12-inch cuts up it, just to relieve the pressure because it was so swollen. It was cutting off blood flow. And they left that open for 3 days. So every day they changed bandage, and you can move your foot and watch all the muscles slide up and down your calf. Oh. And it was cool to watch. Like, one nurse loved it. One nurse tried to puke every time you'd see it. Like, it was rough go. But, yeah, they thought they were going to have to skin graft to get it closed up again. And they, it actually fit. Like, I forget, it was like 75 staples holding that together.
Wow.
And yeah, you can't pull a staple out yourself. I never knew that at 17.
I guarantee I am not the only person sitting here with my mouth wide open listening to that, because that was mind-blowing.
Well, the crazy part is they thought, well, this is going to bug you for years. And that happened in May, like May 31st or something along there. And July 3rd, 4th or something, I started a job fencing for an oil field company, which is just solid walking. And it bugged me, but I did it. I had to wear like compression socks to really help keep the blood moving up. But they said there's no way you should have been doing that. And I think I started at the mine that fall coming into winter, and they made me do an actual physical. And they read that on the sheet in the timeline and looked at it, and that doctor was amazed by it too. Like, this is great. Like, that's not what should look like. You should be pretty crippled up still.
And meanwhile, they, back in May there, the doctors wanted to whack it off and say, hey, here, look at your new prosthetic and enjoy your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I must not have the will of some others. I did tell the doctor there wasn't going to be too much life left if he does that. I don't know. So some people are more resilient than 17-year-old me, I guess.
You were only 17 when that happened? Oh, yeah, you got a whole life ahead of you at that age. Jesus.
Yeah.
How did you break your leg that time?
I came up this bull, and I was like falling backwards off him. And he was just a duck spinner, like just running in a circle, but a big Pengelly bull thing. And he stepped right on the center of my knee and folded it backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's kind of a funny side of it too, is you will get hurt and stepped on and ran over way more when you're not as good at riding amateurs, because you're getting on bulls that are running in a circle and are empty in the middle, and you'll fall in the middle and they'll run all over you. Whereas when you start getting better and you start riding PBR, you're getting on bulls that are so strong that when you come off, you're thrown out there 10 feet. You got the best bullfighters around you that are not messing up. They're right on it, keeping that bull together, and you can just walk away like not a big deal. So it's funny how I would want my kid to ride better bulls, because what if something happens? Well, there's less chance of it happening there.
Okay, but did you do the cowboy thing? When you broke your knee, did you walk out of the arena or did you get carried out?
No, there was no walking, but I didn't let them ambulance me away, because if they ambulance me away, the whole rodeo would be stopped until another one got there, and if the bull riding's the end. So I said, well, I'll just hang out here. So I just sat it was an indoor rodeo, sat in the penalty box bleachers, whatever it was. And so we'll finish the rodeo and then take me to the hospital. So they never had to hold the show up for me, I guess.
You are 10 times tougher than I am, my friend. Holy snozbox. So we were talking the other day, actually, when we did the very first podcast release, we did a live there. Travis Hildebrandt and Kale joined us for a little while there. Along your career of working and your friends and stuff, you told a story there about how a buddy of yours wanted to move a couple of grain bins. And this story it's almost unfathomable, so I'm going to let you tell it the best way you can, because it is the most insane thing you're ever going to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm upset because it never actually went through. And that's the worst part of this whole thing. Like, it's one of those things that's so crazy, and then you do the numbers, you're like, well, that makes sense. So, buddy who runs the grain broker, it's Kyle and Carol Hayden Grain. We'll plug him there. He has 3 yards now, but his original yard's here, close to me. And when he first set up, he had 55,000 bushel bins, and then he put 10,000 bushels next to them. And eventually, the 10,000 was being too much of a pain for him with the operation was set up. So, lists them for sale, and he's selling them to buddies and neighbors and that. And the one neighbor once, I don't know if he was looking at 3 or 4 of them, but they're 26 feet wide. So, just to move them, if you're to tip them, I believe there was 6 or 7 power lines between his yard and the guy buying them. So, and they're $1,000 a line to drop, and they're only going to do one a day. You times that by 4, you have like $24,000 right there. So while that's pricey, and it's going to take 4 days, so we're looking at outside the box things. And Kyle calls me up. I got an idea here, and if it goes through, I need you to run it. I said, okay, what are we doing? So I'm going to have a picker truck come, take the top of the bin off the hopper, set it on the ground. We're going to do this to 4 bins. I got a Sea King helicopter lined up from the airport. It's $3,600 an hour, but I think we can move 2 or 3 bins in one day. Maybe all 4 in one day. And I went, move them how? Like, the plan was we were going to hook these bins to the top of the corrugated top of the bins and leave the hopper and fly them cross country one at a time. And it would have been, I don't know exactly, 8 miles, but no power lines. And he said, if they're all set up ready, I don't see why we can't hook that bin up. It'll be there in 3 minutes, 4 minutes. You drive over there, unhook it, and we get all of those moved in one day. And then we'll load the hoppers up on the highboy and just move them that way. That'll be easy. And I went, that is insane. And I am game. I guess I will run the show on that one. So why not? I want to see that. And I was so curious about how these 10,000 bushel bins were going to fly through the air, if they were going to start spinning in the rotor wash, or what they were going to do. Yeah, I'm like, what kind of, like, who runs the insurance? Like, if you drop one of those down, you're not going to fly over yard sites, but if you wipe out a power line with it falling off, like, is it your insurance, or does the helicopter carry insurance? Like, how does this work? Because I don't know. We'll have to ask him. But unfortunately, the guy didn't end up buying it. But I'm still mad about that.
There's just a million variables. That now you're back to the if, in my mind, like, you're underneath the helicopter that's air. The rotor wash must be immense. Is the roof of the bin ever tough enough to design to take that kind of lift and strain and spinning and out of control? And not to mention, probably the vehicle damage on the ground from people crashing as watching this helicopter drive by with a bin underneath of it would have been terrible. Like there's nothing good that could come out of that except for a great
Oh,
story.
I was excited. I thought it was going to be a go, but he has all sorts of crazy ideas, and it's always crazy until you do it. Like even in this area, we rented out our land for 4 years, and then he zero tilled it for 4 years straight, and then we took our land back, and that land was packed so damn hard that in middle of July I couldn't drive a pickup out into that field because it was a inch of just total slime and rock hard, and you just spin out in the slime. So I thought we don't have a subsoiler, but we have this 2590, and I got this 10-foot old cultivator that we use for the arena that we got out of the bush for free, and it will go like 12 inches deep. Let's spike that whole 100 acres. It was right on the home quarter, and everyone said you're crazy, and we went out and spiked that whole field, and that field has been great ever since. And I said maybe around this area more people should subsoil kind of idea. Everyone's you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know nothing. 1 mile over, the big neighbor, like he's a really big farm. Next year, 2 years later, he shows up with this 25-foot ripper he's pulling behind his quad tracks. Oh, would you look at that? He's pretty smart. Oh, it was my idea first. It was dumb when it was me. Why is it good when it was him?
Oh, 'cause he's got money.
Yeah, what the hell? And I've asked him about that because they run like, I don't know exact numbers, but like 1,000 head they'll winter on a quarter next to the house. Like that ground has to be packed. And they said they've noticed a huge difference on that land, subsoiling it. And then on their other fields, all the bigger farms started buying cultivators back in the area. And they're not cultivating like crazy, but they're on a 2 or 3 year rotation. They'll hit them because this ground here just packs so hard. But I was crazy when it was my idea.
So are you more of a loamy soil where you are then? Or
Gray wooded.
okay. Much rock in it or
I got one field that's a gravel pit, and everything else I've picked like 6 rocks out of in
no, so
6
you
years.
you don't even need a trip on your cultivator shovel then.
Well, there's one field, like there's a layer of shale under us about 6 feet deep. So we have no gophers because they can't get under that shale and they freeze out in the winter. But there's a couple spots and a couple hilltops where that shale apparently gets a little closer than 6 feet. And you will stop that old stagger fairly quick when you grab it with a whole cultivator.
But you know what? If you want, I'll try to figure out some way, and I'll go maybe grain back up some gophers, and I'll deliver them if you want there, Kale, because I'm okay with. I'll give gophers to anybody that says they have no gophers. I'll just gladly bring them a couple thousand.
They will only live till winter. They won't be able to get through that shale, and they will all die over winter. There's none for about 15 miles.
I need some shale, because my problem is we get a gopher. Okay, that's fine. Well, then we get a badger. Well, that's bad, because nothing's more destructive than a badger, I think. Just dig and dig. I don't mind the badger killing the gopher. He just got to do a little housekeeping before he leaves and fill in his hole and goes to the next one. But
Well, they never do it along the fence line.
No, it's always right out in the middle of a field somewhere and where you least expect it.
yeah. So what is on your next year crop plan rotation? Anything new and special we got to be watching for? Or
Well, it's actually kind of downsizing. So I got my one field had a bit of a wild oat problem because the old man in his wisdom got mad and put oats in for 4 years on one quarter. I went, that sounds like a bad idea, but I had a little less say back then. So now I get to deal with this wild oat problem. So really, I called the one neighbor last week and said, you should just come inside, do a silage crop on this quarter. It's bad with wild oats, and I want it taken off early. They cleaned it up. And he said, no, we can do that. So on one quarter, I'm just abandoning just for the year. And then same old cereal rotation, just oats, barley, and wheat, hard red wheat. I'd like to maybe try and work some kind of peas into that somewhere. Buddy was trying to talk me into flax the other day, but these old Massies with the 860 Massies with the flapper feeder house, they don't get along so well with flax, so I don't see that happening.
no, that
Right,
they
yeah.
would resemble a John Deere baler pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, I've read in the manual, you can retime all of them, and there's different bolt holes on your rubber flaps. And if you put them to the outside bolt hole, they will just contact each other by like a 1/16 of an inch. And you time them all so they hit each other. And they're supposed to rip the flax off of each other, but I just don't think I want to go through that.
You've played a little bit with sunflowers too, have you not?
More as a hobby. Everyone's like, well, what's the profit on those? I said, damn zero. But when you plant 11 acres right in front of your house, in front of your deck, it makes a good drinking spot. So yeah, I still have one bag of them left. So I think right around my house, there's a spot, because my house was put on just on old pasture. So all the land is worked like 100 feet out from the house with the dozer and all that. And then it just goes to pasture. So it's pretty rough. So there's one little weird corner, it's like an acre. I'm going to try and work that up this year. Seeded sunflowers just to look at and put it to all lawn. So it's actually nice. But that's a entertainment thing. That's not a money making plan right there.
You know what? Life is too short not to be entertained. I'm 100% in favor of, a little bit of entertainment, make the neighbors talk, something to look at, something to have a drink when you're looking at it, but so I'm looking forward to heading up to my Edmonton to see my brother, and I know Kale, I'm going to be stopping by.
Oh yeah. Well, you're welcome to stop by. Come have a drink.
And I might bring you another project you can do next winter. You got room in your shop for a 1976 John Deere 300?
Oh, sled. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Put a power blocker on that thing.
An LS swap it?
A power block clutch.
Oh, okay. I know. Dad has owned this sled since I was a young boy. He's actually gave it away once, and the guy welded the exhaust manifold up and drove it a little bit and actually gave it back. And Dad's like, what are we going to do with this thing? And I look at it and read the serial number date. Its serial number date in May of 76 is my birthday in May of 1976. So I'm like, I really don't want to get rid of this old sled. Like, I'd love to have it where I could just give the rope 60 or 70 pulls, get it running, and take a little tour around the yard with it. But I just need to have somebody with the knowledge and the skills to get it to that stage. Because, like, my earliest memories of ever riding a snowmobile are on that snowmobile. So I love sledding, but I want that snowmobile to be the one that I can ride on.
We can do better than that. I walked out today and started this Pantera Buddies left here that I worked on. I haven't started in a month, and it started in one pull. I'm like, perfect. I did my job. So, but I actually got a story that goes the total opposite side of what you just said. So my dad had a snowmobile back in the day, Scorpion, and I found the exact one 6 miles away from here. Exact same one. The original one, I know where it is. It fell out of a truck and wrapped the belly pan out of it, so it's in the bush. I know where it is. But a neighbor over here has the exact same sled. It has a complete runner. Well, ran when parked kind of thing 20 years ago. And everyone's like, you should buy that for your dad and redo it. To have one of your dad's old sled kind of thing. And they have this nostalgic about it. Except when my dad had sleds, he only had it because he was in the late 70s, commercial net fishing on the lakes down there. And you needed a sled to do that. And he was doing it just to survive. And you bring it up, and all he talks about is freezing to death on this damn lake with a sled that won't start or would leave you halfway to home. And he goes, I don't want to ever see a sled like that ever again in my life.
It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, I go, okay, never mind. I ain't buying it.
Yeah, well, the sleds, they're a lot of work, especially my next to brand new one, only 35 hours on it. We hauled it up north there last week, drove onto the trailer, and it hasn't started since. I drug it off and put it in the shop with a skid steer tonight. It wants to run on one cylinder, so I might need to phone a mechanic on that one.
They're high maintenance machines. If it wasn't that there was nothing else to do in the winter, I probably wouldn't be into sleds near as much. I haven't been into sleds long. I've only owned a sled for 4 years. But I'm very close to Russell Liba, and they run circle or oval track ice racing with I forget all the classes, a Champ 440 class, they're 130 horse 440s during circle track, they're entering the corner at 85, 90 miles an hour kind of thing. So very aggressive. So I've learned so much from him that made it easy and interesting and something new to learn, but isn't overwhelming because they're still a fairly simple machine.
Yeah. Well, that old saying with sleds is you never ride one any further than you plan on walking the rest of that day. And the other one I can't say on the podcast. Tyler, you got a sled out there?
No, I do not. When I was younger, I suffered from a lot of back problems. So I've just, in my adult life, I've kind of gotten away from them. So from my back problems, so I've just kind of the fear of re-injuring myself. I've stayed away from them.
Yeah, my back hurts thinking about trying to get that John Deere 300 to start because I have made that thing again, it would probably start the second pull behind the house, but when you get 8 miles away, it'll die on you, and then you pull till your back is completely stiff and shot, and then you just walk home. And then Dad will drive me out there later on, and one pull it'll fire up and might make it back home.
So I can tell you how that would go. You would put fuel in it, it would fire up. You'd make it about 3 laps around the yard, and all the crank seals would be so dried up, you'd lean right out and burn that engine down so quick, and that'd be the end of the fun.
Yeah, I know you make fun of my 4-strokes, and actually I do now too because I can't get that one to run. But I got my other one, old one, running today, my M. So tomorrow, before all of our snow disappears, that's my plan: is to take my M and my daughter on hers and go for a rip up north. And because again, I got lots of stuff I can do in the farm here, but the priority tomorrow is go for a ride. Because
I'm not against the 4-strokes. I just like the 2-strokes. It's just why fix something that ain't broken?
Oh no, and now these new 2-strokes. When I was up north there, I rented a Ski-Doo Backcountry 600. That thing was a phenomenal, nice little, it was at over 10,000 K sled. And the 600K I put on it, I don't think I burned a quarter cup of oil. I have no idea how that motor runs on not burning any oil, but it runs great.
Yeah, they're really against giving them any oil. A lot of them, I'm big on it. I hit them as much oil as I can until you're fouling a plug. Give them more oil, but I don't want to rebuild engines that often.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, he runs an older Arctic Cat with a Suzuki, and that thing likes its gas and oil. But you know what? That's a highly reliable sled. Them old 800 Suzukis are awesome.
Yeah, I have a ZL 440, and I just beat the piss out of it, and it runs great. And then I throw the girlfriend on it, and she putters around, and it runs great, and it's very forgiving.
Awesome.
Unlike my Blizzard and my Liquid Fire are both pains in the asses all the time.
Getting back on track here, Kale, you mentioned you worked in the mines. It's where you did your mechanical training. Is that all you really did was mechanical, or did you run some equipment while you were there?
No, they bring all their guys on as equipment operators, and then they'll pick out of that group if they have to fill positions elsewhere. So you start just on haul trucks, so it's like 785, 789 Cats, and then they had some 830 Komatsus, which on paper are amazing, and to sit in the driver's seat are not a lot of fun. They're diesel electric trucks, but from there you move on and start running some grader, and they use the scraper very little, but you'd learn that, and move on to dozer. So I had done some, I don't know exactly, I probably have 3,000 hours on D11 dozer. And then you'll move up to like your 994, like, so big cat loaders, like a 994. I forget the yardage. You could get like 60 tons of rock in one bucket, but they're like a 450,000 pound machine.
One bucket.
Yeah. So they had a bunch of stuff like that, but
you need that to clean out your Quonset.
Buddy has a 944 Deer, so like a 90-pound machine I could have used too. But it was the funny side of it is I started there when I was 18, so I'm an 18-year-old running this heavy equipment and playing around and doing things you shouldn't be doing. But if you're not getting caught, it never happened. Like the amount of Rockfords and just slides I've done in like these old 630 Komatsu haul trucks. They had a 149 V16 engine in them, and no one wanted to run them, but I'd abuse that thing, and you couldn't break it. It'd break you, but you couldn't break it. But yeah, you did all sorts of stuff to entertain you. I think I have the land speed record for a D11R, and I've never seen any proof of anyone going faster, so I don't know. But that was a coal mine and an open pit mine. So eventually they started having us drive right down to the bottom of the pit to load up. And I don't know exactly how far this is, like maybe 150 feet down from normal land. So if you're on dozer and they switch over to coal, they want you to go down there and clean up before the loader gets there, so it's all nice for them. I can't remember the guy's name that was in that 994 going down the ramp, but that thing goes like road gear, 8 miles an hour. Like, they're not fast, 12 miles an hour maybe. And I'm at the top of the ramp and he's halfway down. And I'm in this it was 18 dozer, I remember. This was the last R they had before they had old T's. and it was worn out. Like, but it's a corporate thing where it needs to last 9 more months no matter what. So they went and put new rails on the tracks, but never changed any bogies, which makes no sense. But we need 9 months out of it. That's what we're getting. And it just came out of the shop. And I turned down that ramp and I start going, and I forget, they go 6 miles an hour maybe, because they had third gear locked out of them. Maybe only 4 miles an hour. But you got Mexican overdrive. You can kick her into neutral and they'll start moving. There's 240,000 pounds there going downhill. And next thing I know, I'm going by that 994, and I look over and his eyes are huge. And that is where I start getting a little worried about my situation, because I am moving, and you can't just touch the brakes on them because they're so strong. Like, it puts you into the dash. And to steer is the same thing. Like, you touch that, go through your clutch, and then you hit brake, and it will throw you around when you're moving. So I'm like, what am I going to do here? And I'm like 19, 20. I'm like, I'm getting fired. Like, holy hell, there's no hiding this. And we're moving, and I just start, you can't dive the blade into the ground because then everyone's going to know you messed up. So I start putting the blade just on the ground a little and just start piling a little bit, just trying to, okay, let's slow down. Like, these tracks are ballooned out, like almost taking out the handrails. Like, I've never seen tracks so like
They're going around so
inflated.
fast.
It was scary. And I finally get stopped at the bottom, and I got a full, I think they were like 70-yard cold blades on these dozers. I got a full blade in front of me and dust everywhere. Yeah, I'm like out of the dozer, like taking a little walk, like, oh my, what did I just do? And the guy on the 994 comes out and he stops and he runs out. He goes, holy shit, you must be going like 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour when you went by me. And I went, yeah, I felt that fast. Like, it didn't feel good. I regretted it instantly. Holy hell.
Something that weighs like 250,000 pounds.
Oh,
my
God. And it's just hilarious looking back to think playing in some of that equipment and just not respecting the job at all. Just being a little shithead, abusing stuff in there. And, like, to go from one guy who's like has a family he's providing for, and like this is how his family lives, this whole job, like it's that important, then me just don't give a shit, and away we go. And I actually got to be a decent dozer operator. I ended up buying a dozer of my own after, a little case, and it was a fun little machine. I had that for years, but I've liked running equipment, but I don't like working for someone else. I think it's my problem, really.
Right. You mentioned before you've rolled a dozer once before.
Yes, I did. Yeah, actually,
you care to go into that?
Yes.
How do you roll a dozer?
You can do it. That 18 dozer that I went down that hill in, I got it one day where the night shift before they had rolled it, and the whole thing was just black, covered in oil, and they flopped it over, and now it's my job to run it for the day. And I didn't think that was very cool. But then you fast forward a couple of years, I'm no longer at the mine, and I'm at this ranch, and he wanted to clear land, and he didn't want to hire someone. So instead of hiring a company to come clear all these quarters of bush, he bought this old D7G, which they're great dozers, but it's an open cab. And I get talked into running it because his hired hand was a buddy of mine down from Lomond, down south. So I get this job running it, and the very first day, this thing lights on fire in the belly pan on me, and I'm out in the bush, and I get it out somehow, and that was the start of our adventure with that D7G. Like, I think I lit that thing on fire 6 times, and I broke the C-frame on it. Well, I might not have. The C-frame was broke. We noticed this in a peculiar position that D7 ended up in. So before I got there, they had Buddy, who is a cowboy, like punchy cowboy. It's on a community pasture kind of thing. And they put him on this dozer. He has no right being on this dozer. So there's a steep hill, and he knocks all these trees down on the steep hill and leaves them because he goes, oh, I shouldn't be here. That's scary, which he shouldn't have been. So now I'm finishing that quarter up, and that's like the only messy spot is this steep, probably 30-foot tall hill, but it's very steep. And all these trees laid down on it. And it's like March, February, into February. So I should at least clean them up. Not go farther, but clean them up. So I start cleaning it up on the shallow side. and you just keep pushing straight down and you back straight up. You don't turn at all because things get scary. And I'm getting steeper and I'm almost at the end and I'm backing up and one track spins out and she spins sideways and now we're 30 feet to the bottom on rails going sideways to the bottom. And I just, oh boy, here we go. And it hits the bottom and everything went like cartoonish slow motion. It starts raising up and it's slowly, and it like teeters right on the edge of rolling. And I'm sitting there and like, no seatbelt, like you're just running dozer in the bush. And it falls over so nicely that I didn't even leave the seat. And the rock hits the ground, like as gentle as can be, like not even a big rattle. And I go, I did not just do that. What the hell? Shut it off and step out and look at it and go, yeah, I just did that. Damn it. And like, not a big deal to me. Like, I'm not invested in the machine. If you're going to do work like that, stuff like that's going to happen. And it was pretty well the best situation it could have been. But I'm standing there looking at it, and the whole bottom of the C-frame is cracked out and broken. And I was, well, at least we know that's wrong with it now.
You always see them videos. See this U-joint here, it needs to be greased more. We should do it right now. It's easy to get to as the truck's laying on its side. So how'd you flop that back over? Just come down with a tractor, or?
No, he had given me the number of the company that originally wanted him just to hire them. And so I called them because I couldn't, this is some rich guy who lives in the city but owns this ranch kind of guy. So I called them directly and I said, well, I don't care if he have his permission or not. It needs to get flipped over. He's going to pay someone. So I called them and they just walked out a little D5 with a winch and it came over. They went on the top of the hill and hooked the winch up to the C-frame and just so gently came back. And we lost tons, all the tranny oil, fair bit of diesel, but it had engine oil in it. It was a little low, but it was there. So he started pulling me and I fired it up and there wasn't any oil up on the rods. So everything just fired up nicely. So I just had it running so I could use the steering clutch a little bit and had them just pull out to high ground and then did some oil changes and had that C-frame welded. And then luckily the big milk came and I was done. And the next year, I think they burnt that thing down. He hired someone else. I think they burnt it down. And then he hired someone just to clear all the land. But I don't know. I was out there alone and in 2 months, I think I cleared 2 quarters or quarter and a half of solid bush.
That's
my D7G experience. They're good dozers.
That's a long winter on an open station cat.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of freedom with it. He goes, if it's minus 30, I don't expect you to be out there, and I'd like you to run it more than you don't, but, if it's cold and on the weekend, take it off. So I was rodeoing, and it was okay, but you kept lighting fires, so that kept it fairly warm.
So that pushed all that bush, actually we're an agriculture podcast in theory. So that turned all that into farmland. You ever went back and seen like that dirt that you did there? Is it she full-blown farmland now?
Well, it's not far. So that guy, think of a community pasture, but it's private. So he just brings on a whole bunch of pairs. I haven't seen it personally, but the interesting side of that, that was probably 2016 or something. I did that. At the time in that area, you could buy a quarter of brush for like 80 grand. But the cleared quarters were like 300. And I thought, if this guy had any sense, he has the money. He should buy 2 dozers because it's dangerous to run one alone. He should run 2 or 3. And he should just start buying land and just clearing it all. Like when there's, 260 grand, 240 grand to be made per quarter. You own 2-3 dozers, you can clear it a lot cheaper than that. Like there's money to be made there, I thought, but land prices probably went up quite a bit since then.
That's the big thing. The old story is it takes money to make money. I mean, if a guy, you had the envision, you just didn't have the $1 million it takes to buy all that land and machinery.
Yeah, that's what every failure says. I was just held up by not having the money. I had her be.
So you've never tried any pulse crops or nothing like that up there?
I did 1 crop of peas once on my bad quarter that is very hilly and very rocky, not knowing what I was doing. That's how I actually ended up with my hoe drill, because I have an air seeder. I was using it. I wasn't overly happy with my air seeder. But I bought these peas, and that thing would not seed them. They would bridge in the tank. And we're in late May, and these peas need in the ground. So I got on Kijiji and I found these 7,200 case hoe drills 45 minutes away for, forget what they were, $3,500 with grass boxes on them. Said used last year, shouldn't be close to ready. So I went and grabbed them. And the next day I was seeding peas with them. I haven't looked back. I love the hoe drills over there, seeder, since it's such a stress-free way to seed.
How'd the peas do?
Terrible, but everyone did terrible that year. I think they went 15 bushels an acre, and I was fairly ashamed to find out the neighbors who do them every year got 3 bushels an acre. I went, that's what you seeded. So, and I think they went $18 a bushel. So it only took 2 truckloads to haul them all in and made the same. I think the net profit was the same as the barley the year before. So it was like, it looked terrible. Everything about it looked bad. And then on paper, it worked out to be the exact same. So it's like, oh, okay. But ever since then, the old man has not been happy about the peas, which I don't understand because he never combined a single bit out there. I was out there with one combine. But he's getting a little more dramatic with farming at his older age here. He's kind of done with it, but still trapped into it.
Yeah.
Like the one year he was going off on a big rant about how I'm done with farming and I'm too old for this and blah, blah, blah. It's too much work and all this. And I looked at him and went, you know, what have you done this year? You hauled grain up the crop, like drove grain truck for our bit. And then I think you dished 50 acres. That's all you did the whole year. What are you crying about? Well, it still seems like a lot of work. Get called out, doesn't know what to say.
It's work that he's not doing.
Yeah.
And you got some cool old Western stars kicking around there too, I see. I love that 8V92s. That's the first semi we ever owned with one of them. So that's my bucket list motor is to get back on the farm as one of them in a truck.
Yeah, and we got both of them out of luck, really. There was an oil field company in town going out and they were doing an auction. We went in there. Actually, we never went in there. We bought that 88 Star with the B block, sight unseen. It was set there they set a runner, and after we bought it, went in there and there was no exhaust on it and no, they had stole the PTO off of it because it was a fluid hauler, like a fluid transfer truck. So I went and bolted a plate on it and put oil in the tranny and it fired up and drove it home and, oh, look at this. And it's been a great truck. We've done a fuel filter in it, and the heim joint for the throttle cable broke on it last year. That's all we've done in like 6 years with it. That's went wrong. And the truck's been amazing. And then later on, find out the thing was in-framed right before the company started getting hard times, had to steal parts off of it. And all it did for the last 10 years was run empty aluminum Super Bs to town for fixes and whatnot and used as a yard truck. So that truck's been great and optioned up well. 4 1/4 cat, a 15-speed horseshoe with 44 rears on it with air ride. So for an old truck, it's optioned up pretty nice. And then mine, like that's the old man's. Mine is that 79 Star that's also optioned up pretty nice for the year. It has a 445 horse 8V92. It has a 15-speed in it, but not a horseshoe. It's a direct. It has 40 rear ends and just spring ride. But I think that spring ride rides better than the air ride. It just sucks when you're hooking up the trailers. But it was a water hauler, and that thing only has 450,000 K on it. Because story I heard is they were more worried, they inherited the company, and they were more worried about running race cars than really working. So if money was low, it'd go to work. But if money was good, it was parked, and they just were running race cars and whatnot. And it had been parked. It was safetied in 2000 or 02. Got used that winter and parked and never moved again. And it had a new motor put in 99. But they, out of luck, they needed diesel and they sucked all the diesel out of it for other machines. So I never had to deal with any of that. They stole the PTO off it also. But I sold the water tank off of it and pretty well covered the cost of the truck. So essentially that truck's almost a free truck to me. So I slapped that hitch on it, and it's clumsy with how long it is. But that thing's a great truck for just hauling a tandem grain trailer.
Yeah, but jump back and forth between the 15 speed, whether double over or horseshoe or whatever you call that. I would grind gears like a mofo if I had to switch back and forth between two transmissions. That shifts it awful. I mean, opposite of each other.
I do not even want to know what happens in that cab when my old man's driving. I don't want to know. Every time he gets in a truck, you're with him and things start grinding and you look at like, how do you have a class one? He goes, I really don't know. I think someone messed up. Like, and he drove gravel truck for a couple of years. Like, he actually has some hours driving truck, but I don't think he knew what he's doing the whole time. He was just winging her. Whatever. What are they going to do? Fire me? Like, okay.
Awesome.
So in Alberta, on farm plates to drive a semi, do you need your class one, or can you just get away with an ordinary driver's license?
They're kind of in the middle. So 3 axles and air brakes is exempt. You can run in class 5. So if you have a tandem grain truck, a class 5 can drive it, from my understanding.
Same out here with it.
Yeah.
Same out here with an F plate. Yeah.
Yeah. So then once you hook a trailer onto it, you're in trouble. So like we have that single axle Freightliner, and it with a single axle air brake would be legal for a class 5, like a single axle trailer with air brakes, because you'd still only be 3 axles, from my understanding. I've yet to see this in person, but the law states 3 axles, air brakes exempt for class 5. If you put a tandem trailer on that truck, now you need a class 1. But they kind of got rid of the whole need of a class 3 pretty well, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, the old 3A's gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you can still get it, but with all the training and stuff you got to go through for both of them, you're just better off to get the one than you can do it all, in my opinion.
Well, take a month of training for a 3A, that'd be completely pointless.
Yeah, I think it's only like $1,800 to get a 3 here, or something along that, whereas the class 1 is up in your $9,000 or something. So that's why a lot of oil field companies in this area, you're starting to see a ton of tandem axle trucks pulling electric brake trailers, because they can hire on all these guys with class 3s and get them trained up in a week or so and be running.
Really?
Yeah. So if you have like more utility stuff or like bigger snow moving crews, you'd see a gravel truck pulling an electric braked spindle hitch with 2 bobcats on it, kind of an idea. You can have a class 3 guy pulling that around.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's 100%, but that's my understanding of it. But they're going to have to do something, like how the whole industry, trucking industry, I can't see how it's going to survive when you're $10,000 to get your class 1. And once you do, no insurance company will cover you. So you can't even run with anyone. And if a company will, they say, well, we're only going to pay you $18, $16 an hour because your insurance is $4,000 a month. And since you have no experience, you don't have 4 years experience. Like, the industry is kind of doomed to fail in my eyes. I don't know.
I have
real trucker, but
I have heard rumblings that they're going to change that because of just how, with what's happened in the past and how they've had you have to have all this training in order to get your license. It's how it has virtually killed the trucking industry. I've heard they are going to make some changes because they went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah,
on it ever since there was that bad bus crash.
Any kids, Kale?
No, I've been waiting. None that I know of.
None that you know of.
Practicing.
None that you claim on your income tax.
Yeah. No. I'm going to wait till the farm is more stable. It's been rocky with all the family farm transition stuff. So, but as you can almost do a whole part on the dying family farms and small farms, because, like, I don't know what people think of our farm as being. I think a lot of people on TikTok that really got my ass about just spend the money, do this. They're coming from that view of a 10,000 acre farm. And maybe in their eyes, a 10,000 acre farm is small, but like those 2,000 and down farms are just in such a weird spot of what's profitable and trying to keep up with the Joneses versus if it's really even worth it. And, you know, your margins are so small. So what's best to do kind of thing.
Farms of that size, the way it's going, unfortunately, they're becoming less and less.
Yeah.
Because of the cost of inputs, the cost of machinery. So it is a lot harder for a small guy like you to justify a newer piece of iron, per se.
Yeah. But, like, if you watch on the video, the whole idea is, do you need that newer piece of iron? Like, are you keeping up with the Joneses? Like, what does buying and not even like a new tractor, but let's say we just jump into the late 90s and get a 9370 case Stagger. What am I gaining over my old Ford Stagger, which I don't think is a particularly great tractor? I'm gaining a nicer cab. That's nice. Hydraulics, you're getting a bit, but you're still not getting into modern air seaters. You can just run old ones better. Like, are you buying that just to keep up with the neighbor and look like you're more successful, or is it actually helping the farm?
We got a 9280, and I've done lots of videos on that tractor but I have aftermarket pump on it. I have triples on it. I have the pump juiced up. It's got a bigger turbo. It's got triples. It's pulled an 80-foot drill. It didn't like it, but it did it. So when we had to go seeding, something's got to pull the drill, and that tractor was set up to pull a 70-foot drill, but really pulls a 50 or 60-foot drill pretty awesome. But that 80 with the 980 is just too big for it. But there's a lot to be gained from. We had an old Stagger Bearcat, I think, and we actually traded that off on that 9280. Nicer cab, more power, bigger power, better hydraulics, quite a bit more comfortable, way quieter. And then with the Atom Jet kit on there and stuff, and power shift transmission. In my terrain, in my hills, that power shift is king, because it's not a race to the top of the hill as long as you make it to the top of the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when we were down in that Loman country, we had some big hills. And up here, I don't really, but even there's the odd, I have one quarter that's hilly, and its hills are not hills to you. But there's times I went, man, power shift would be nice. And I keep looking, like we have that FW30 Ford that's been converted to an 855 Cummins. And I go, if I ever have a chance to ditch this and get a 4880, 4900 Massey, just to have those 3 power shifts and a cab that I can actually like lift my arms up without hitting every inch of it, the cab, that would be a benefit. But that's still not a huge investment, like big upgrade tractor. It's just I'm checking all my boxes with still only spending 20 grand.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way
them 4800 Masseys, that guy whoever designed the cab of that tractor had to be a square dancer, because those things are massive. And you can square dance inside the cab of that frickin' tractor. They're so big. You can't touch the windows when you're sitting in the seat. Those are huge tractors. And the 903 Cummins, most of them are 903s. I think all of them are, actually. They're kind of a slobbering motor, but you put the RPMs to them, and the power goes up there, and the torque goes up there, and they can, besides smoking out the whole neighborhood when you started, they're a phenomenal old tractor.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And the more you look at how they were built, it's really interesting. Now, the 903s misunderstood. I'm not saying anyone would put one in something else, but if you throw the revs at them, don't lug them, they will last 1,300 or 13,000 hours. They were rated like 650 horse in tanks.
Yeah,
like you can turn them right up. They're really misfit in a tractor. They shouldn't have been put in a tractor. But that frame, they were designing that to build like a 1,000 horse tractor. Like that frame is the exact same frame right up to 03 or whenever they ended the Egg Co-Stars. They ditched the tranny, and I think they changed the disc, but the frame and the cab shell is all the same 78 to like 03. Like it has to be a good design to go that far.
Yeah, because some of them Eggo Stars, they had N14s, but an oddball Eaton Fuller 18 speed would be an odd transmission to be in a big tractor too, I often thought. Be great on a roller tractor, or great in an area that you don't have hills, but
yeah, well, I've never drove one. Like, can you shift gears on the fly under load with 18? Like, can you split and do it? Because in my eyes, it's not as nice as power shift, but it gives you that option if you're on it. Like, okay, a hill's coming up, at least I can downshift before the hill and crawl it slower without stopping, which would be big for an air seeder. But I don't know if it actually works that way.
That sounds like a TikTok question, because I'm sure there'll be some expert out there that'll inform us on that one.
They also came with 60 series Detroits. I think the idea was the 360 horse ones were Detroits and the 425s were N14s. But I don't know if that's 100%. They might have came with both.
Yep. Those are cool old tractors, though.
I'd love one. If anyone has one out there they want to trade for an FW30 Stagger with a 855 at like 350 horse, I'm interested. I want a cab. Give me a damn cab.
Well, you need a 9280. Just this update to a 9280 or a 9370. You'll
Oh,
you'll have the
You
world
get
by the tail with one of
you get
those.
in the 93 series, then you get into the N14s and whatnot.
if I could go back in time to about 2017 when we started farming again, we almost bought a quad track 9380, worn out. Like the tracks were done. But I'm like, well, what? There are 1,000 hours left in them? That might be like 6 years for us, like if we use it right. And it went at Richie's for I think 21 grand. And then there was a 2-track, an old the flat track 2-track cat. I think it's 75C or something like that. D maybe. And it went for 17 grand. Same thing, track's not in great shape, but if we don't put a lot of hours on it, you can at least build on it and be set up for years. You got a lot of growing to outgrow that tractor for our setup.
And tractors can really pull. I mean, when you get them tracks hooked to the ground, they are just anchors.
Yeah, so, lots of ways you can look at it. Just buy something ready to go, or just some of those fixers up, so you can really rebuild and just as you grow, keep upgrading. Like especially with the smaller farm where you're not doing so many acres. And well, that's another reason I went back to the hoe drills. Actually, I was relying on our 4-wheel drive so much. All the braking was with it, all the seating. Like if it goes down, the farm stops. By going to the hoe drills, I'm covering the same amount of land in a day. I'm burning half the fuel doing it. And if that 2590 case goes down, our 2105 white will pull it. It's not happy, but it'll pull it. We got the brother has a 100 horse white front wheel assist. It won't like it, but fill it up halfway and pull it. I can hook the 4-wheel drive to it. Like we're going to be seeding that same day, like in 30 minutes.
Yep. And that's the reason years ago when we lost the motor in our Versatile, the motor was done. The tractor was on its way to get looked at. Like, well, what do we have to lose? Let's put the 9280 on that 80-foot drill. And I fully thought that thing would plug every hose as soon as I put it in the ground. And all of a sudden, when a whole blockage monitor turned green, I'm like, I'm going to seed one pass. And 13 or 1,200 acres later, before we finally got a different tractor, that old 9280 pulled that big drill of ours. And we were just lucky that tractor was set up years ago to pull a big drill with the pump and the tires and everything and all the weight and all that stuff. Because it shouldn't. I had people outright tell me, well, it can't be done. I'm like, well, it did. And it did it in the hills. It can be done. It just didn't like doing it.
Oh, my air seeder is an open center hydraulic system, or my tractor is on my air seeder. So it limits me so much. And they said, well, you can't really do it. I said, yeah, you can. I can't pick the drill out of the ground without plugging. And they said, well, how do you do it? I said, I go round and round like every farmer did 60 years ago. Works just fine. Well, it's not as efficient. I said, I think it's more efficient than buying an 80 grand tractor. Like it works. It's not ideal, but it works. So, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh yeah, and I always say there's a will, there's a way. I mean, for us there, we had to do 3 headlands, so we'd give it we'd power shift right down to almost a crawl, and we'd shut off the shanks, and the fan would come to almost a screeching stop. Would come half the RPM because it's raising the shanks and that drill at the same time. But we're going so slow, there was very little product in the lines, and once it got them all the way up, the fan revved up, we made the turn. And it stayed slow, clicked it back on, put it back in the ground, going slow, at 1.5 miles an hour. And then once it got the shanks in the ground, the fan revved up to normal speed, grab a couple of gears, and away we went. We had to turn incredibly slow, but we did it.
No.
But like I said, there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, yeah. You need to get it done. You'll figure out a way. Like, even like that ginormous drill in Australia they pull with that. It's not a Baldwin, is it? Maybe it's a Baldwin tractor. When that thing was designed, they were using two-track deers, I think, hooked in a line pulling on the thing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like that's not an easy running machine. If they wanted to cover the ground, they were covering the ground.
But if you're designing a drill that just has one shared toolbar, two tractors and two tanks, why wouldn't you just have two individual toolbars? Versus your two operators having to make hand signals or on the phone all day together saying, I'm going to turn right, you turn left, or don't turn left.
I think they were trying to prove a point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. That having two tractors hooked to one toolbar, it doesn't seem very efficient to me. One thing Dad and Leonard have always stated, you can have one big drill, or you'd be more efficient with two drills that are just slightly smaller than that one big drill, and you'll be more efficient.
Oh, yeah. Like, my air seeder ain't big. It's a 35-foot old New Noble.
Okay,
and those 28-foot hoe drills, I can cover more land than that air seeder in a day, and I can burn way less fuel. I'm down to like, with that 2590 case, it's just idling around with those, because that's a heavy tractor. That thing weighs 24,000 pounds. Like, it's only like 3,000 pounds less than that Stagger. And I think even with the cultivator on, I'm down under a liter an acre, because the 380 liter tank, and I went out Vibershanking, and I did 350 acres in one day, and not with an early start. I never have an early start. And yeah, I think I put 300 liters in the thing. So it's efficient, and that matters with a small farm.
So it's not like a bigger version of like a 1570?
I think they're about the same horsepower. It's 205 engine, 180 PTO. They are amazing field tractors. You want to hook that onto something, like when we were down in Loma, we pulled a 45-foot Frigstad with that two-wheel drive case.
Okay, yep.
Actually, we can do a whole funny story on the whole thing. I don't know what was going on with my family in the late 70s. My grandpa was in charge, which I'm going to say is not the best equipment buyer. So I don't know the exact orders on these, but there was a white dealer in town, so he bought a 4-150 white 4-wheel drive. And they hated it. They said that 3208 Cat was garbage. So they traded it off, and they got a Co-op Implements Wildcat that has a 3208 in it. And they didn't like it, so they got rid of it. And I think they got it. I can't remember if it was actual Stagger Wildcat or Alice 440 Wildcat. But same 3208, and they just didn't like it. Like, surprise. They just hate that 3208, but they keep buying tractors with it. So then they bought a Polaris 7100, I believe, the 300 horse big singles tractor. And the old man said that thing pulled amazing. Said you could not outpull that thing. You really wanted to invest in a hired hand to run it, because you didn't want to. But he said that thing was amazing. And finally, they wore the tires off of that thing. And they didn't make that size in Canada. You couldn't get them. So we sell the damn thing. And the next year, they come up with the size that would go on those rims. So that was that. Oh, okay. So then we bought two 2590s, both in 83, and I think they were both 82 models. The one had a loader on it, and they're terrible loader tractors. So the old man said that one was always a dud. So they ran it for years, and they pulled the guts out of the one we still have with a 45-foot Frigstad up and down those hills down in that country, and said it just worked great. Never give any problems, just pulled the guts out of it. And finally, around 95, I was just a little kid. You're graduating. I was just a kid. We traded the shittier 2590 off on a 4840 Massey. And that thing was a great tractor. That did us well for many years. And then, yeah, that second time we sold out, it finally went. It went for nothing. Like 10 grand, I think. And I found it. It's in Tabor. I could buy it right now. Back our same original tractor. And I've really thought about it, but I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Sometimes you just got to do it. Or don't listen to me. I'd buy all sorts of garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, them 2590s and them 2594 case tractors, they were a great tractor. But what I've been told from the few guys around here that had them, they had a little bit of rear end trouble in them just because they had a little bit too much power and not enough rear end in them.
Well, what I've been told is so they don't lube in reverse. So when you put it in reverse, it quits lubing the tranny.
Yeah.
So what happens is the problem, like ours ran fine for 20 years. And when we moved up north here and we came ranching, we put it on the bale shredder. And you're constantly backing into the shed.
Yep.
And then you shut it off. And in the morning, you go and fire it up and not think anything of it. But you can be in neutral and reverse still. So you fire that thing up, it's in neutral, and you walk away, let it warm up for 20 minutes, and it's not lubing the tranny the whole time it's spinning. So the same thing happens when you back up to a bin with it on an auger, anything like that. So I think their biggest flaw was operator error and not educating operators of the problem. Because yeah, like we had the power shift rebuilt in ours once, and now it only gets used for field stuff again, and it's fine. Like I'd never tell anyone to buy a 2390 as a chore tractor. No, bad idea. But every tractor has its place. Those 2390s, 2590s are amazing in the field on a cultivator.
No, we have a 2394 here. We've owned it since new, and it's got over 30,000 hours on it.
Totally.
Power shift has never been done in it.
My caramba.
Yeah.
Does yours have the 3-speed? I think they had the last couple years had
it's an 85, so it's got the 6-speed in it.
Yeah, they never had any troubles, did it? Well, obviously they don't have that much.
The only troubles that we've had is that because it's an electric power shift, it's not the mechanical. There's a little brain box under the dash there that goes out. I keep one because we got so many of them old tractors. We got one that we keep in inventory, a little brain, change it out in about 15 minutes and away you go again.
Oh yeah. Is it hard to track that box down?
No, CNH carries it.
Nice. I for like 2590 last winter, I went to get just a coolant gauge, like your engine temperature. I could not get one anywhere. I finally bought one off eBay. It's shipped from Israel to get here.
Yeah, so all our tractors are either a 96 series or a 94. So we got the updated dash that's got the bars.
Digital.
Yeah, the digital bars.
That's what my grandpa had there. That was the last tractor he farmed us with a 2094, and it had the digital bars and that different transmission in there. And my uncle still has that tractor, still uses it for, he does a little bit of haying and stuff, still has that tractor. That was the limit I ever rode in that, but Grandpa had a 970 and then he traded it off, and then Dad bought that tractor, and there's still parts of it laying out by the slough here, but I remember riding on that tractor with Grandpa as a little boy there, and them 70 series case tractors and that power shift is so aggressive. I'm pretty sure I stutter the way I do and talk the way I talk because of Grandpa, because every time he'd power shift that tractor ahead, I think he would wait till he heard the bonk, my head hitting the back window. Oh, watch your head. Power shift, bonk, watch your head.
Oh, yeah. And my old man used to put his hand behind my head and says, hold your head. And then I'd smash his hand against the window. And I know he'd do it like 3 times. And then the next time he wouldn't, I'd go bonk. And he goes, you'll figure it out. Done hurting my hand over you.
No, if you could get them power shifts set up right, they'll just shift like an automatic transmission.
Yes. We around here we went from the 970 to the 1070 to the 13 to the 2670. We never had any of the good case 90 series or 94 series.
The only place I think they really went wrong with those, like, I think it's 94 or the late 90s when they started, is by painting the cab black. I don't understand why any company would ever paint a cab black, because the day that AC quits is going to be one bad day.
Yeah, it was 85 when they started painting them red and black. That's when the merger happened, because we also have a 2094, and it's right at the serial break there when they went from the white cabs to the red cabs. So when it came up from, I think they were built in Grand Island, Nebraska. I could be wrong on that. But anyways, when it came up across the border, it was a white cab. At the same time, they bought a 2294, and just with timing, it was after the serial break, so it was a red cab. So back to the 2094 thing, they wanted it painted red because they knew they'd be buying other new tractors in the future, and they wanted to match. So if it was a white cab, it came as a 2090. But if it came as a red cab, it was a 2094. So that tractor, it could be either way. It just depended on how the customer wanted it. So that tractor, it's it came from the factory as a 2090, but it's been redeckled as a 2094. But it is still a true 2094, if that makes sense. That tractor's actually got over 40,000 hours on it.
Jeez, you guys put a lot of hours on your tractors. That 2590 of ours is only at 7,200, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, like at one time they were the main farming tractors, right? And then the late 80s hit and interest rates went to the roof, so they never got traded off. And we knew how to maintain them and take care of them, so we just kept them because they were so reliable. All we did was put diesel fuel in the tank and drove them. So the 2394 and the 2094, they have had one engine rebuild, but they've got a lot of hours on them since that was done. But our biggest thing was maintenance. Run CNH high tran oil in the transmissions, and every 100 hours do an engine oil change. And then in about every 8,000 hours, we do a bearing roll in them.
Oh, really? I'm due. Almost. Yeah, ours only has 7,200 hours, but it has survived 2 different fires and 2 auction sales, so it has that going for it. It's resilient.
Just can't kill that old tractor.
So that's a good story how that thing survived both fires, actually. So
How do you end up with a tractor with 2 fires? Usually when there's a fire in a tractor around here, it's toast.
Oh, the first ones, well, they're both totally luck. Total luck that tractor survived these fires. So the first one, I think the old man was bailing with it up just close to the home quarter. And he's bailing away, and the batteries exploded on it and just come up all on the side of the cab fire. But it's still running. It doesn't need the batteries to run. Anyway, so yeah, he starts booking it across this field road gear in this 2590 with a baler, bouncing it. And that field in the corner had a bunch of bees, and the beekeeper was there at the time. And he comes rolling up to him and jumps out, and that beekeeper runs up, has a cup of coffee, and throws it on the batteries, and they go out. And the old man looks at him, the old guy looks at the cup, and goes, good thing it's a big cup.
Put out a fire with 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah, so old man drives it down to the yard and shuts it off, and the batteries are all melted everywhere, and goes down, put new batteries in, and away he goes again. So, okay, well, it survived 1 fire. That's good. Yeah, we never insure anything, like tractor-wise. They're not insured. Like, risk it. So, years later, probably 10 years later, the parents are in Arizona. They're snowbirds now. But me and the brother at Red Deer PBR, I can't remember if I was riding. He was riding for sure. And we go to the bull riding. Everything's fine. We go to the bar, go to Billy Boggs after. We ended up staying in Red Deer. So the next day, and it's February or something, it's cold. The next day we're coming back, and he's going, well, I'll have to do chores, but good thing I plugged the tractor in before we left, so it should just go. So we get home, and that shop he had it in, all the doors were shut on, and we're walking up to it, and up in the top of the vents, it's kind of dark. What the heck? So I go, it was just me, actually. It was just me going up to it. So I open the door. The whole shop is straight black. You can't see a foot in front of you. So I roll up the big door, and I walk in there. And it's a dirt floored shop, and there's piles of grain on it. It's what is that thing, about 50 by 200? It's a big shop. And in there is this, it was my uncle's, a TL 100 New Holland, little short tractor, burnt to the ground. Like, the front tires were on fire the tiniest bit. There was nothing left of this. No back tires. Like, it was burnt to the ground. And the fire burnt out away from the tractor on the ground because there's grain everywhere because we had piles of grain. Burnt right up to this, like, 800 bushel pile of grain and right up to that 2590 next to it and stopped. It snubbed itself out with not enough oxygen. So we're sitting there and went, holy hell, like, it melted the tail lights on the back of that 2590 case. It got so hot, but it stopped. So I go to the house, I go to my brother, you need to come out here. That tractor burnt down. Well, what do you mean it burnt down? I said, I mean, it burnt to the ground. And he walks out there and looks at this disastrous wreck, goes, you weren't lying. It burnt right to the ground. And we look at each other, he goes, well, you got to tell Rod, like my uncle. He goes, I don't want to, you have to. I said, it's not my tractor, not my chores. So he waits 2 days, scared to walk across the yard and tell my uncle. And finally, you got to come with me. I can't do this. I said, I didn't burn it down. I don't care. You have to come with me. So we go across the yard and knock on his door. And, well, what's up? And say, and he goes, well, your tractor. Well, there's no easy way to say it. It burned to the ground. Well, what do you mean it burned to the ground? Nah, you should just come look at it. And we walk out there, and the same thing as my brother looks at it. Yeah, that's burnt to the ground. Oh, well, it just walks away. And that was the end of it. Like, no blow up, no nothing. He goes, I don't know. You make sure you feed my cows, figure out a way. That's all I care. And just walked away and went, holy hell. But that case survived that fire too somehow.
To the ground inside the building. That building
Yep.
must still be black on the inside.
Oh, yeah. He hired a pressure truck to come try and wash it. Nope. It's a disaster. Everything you touched, your hands were black. My rodeo van was in there, the 2590, something else. We had to buy this TSP like for house fires, like walls to scrub down and scrub that tractor down. I've scrubbed that thing down with spray 9 like 3 times, 4 times. The tractor's finally starting to get to like, if you're working under the hood or places, your hands aren't coming out black. But under the cab, if you look in there, it's still like pitch black.
That's
Yeah.
that's just pure luck.
Yeah, and the building survived. And especially to burn right up to the edge of that grain pile.
So what kind of building is that?
A Quonset, like a 50 by 200 Quonset. There's
Just like
from the road.
a Balin Quonset?
Yeah, from the road, it's like a zipper lock one, like
Oh,
not
okay.
even the heavy one. But yeah, from the road, you can see there's a big burnt spot of it where there's no paint on the tin on the outside. You can see from the road, and inside you can see it too. And it melted all the wiring of all the lights on the roof too. So we had to rewire all the lights. We only lost that little front wheel assist. That was kind of a shitty tractor to start with, so it could have been a lot worse.
And that was the one that was plugged in with a little front wheel assist to do chores?
Yep. Yeah, it was my uncle's there, yeah. So I don't know if the radio never had any, it never had a radio and all the wires were just up in there. And it also was plugged in, so I don't know where it went wrong, but it went wrong.
I don't know how that got screwed up, but it's very screwed up.
Oh, yeah.
No fixing it though.
No, kind of like Kale when you said, when you were bull riding, you're all in this together. And same with agriculture. We're all in this together. Whether I have a good crop or you have a good crop, but we're all in this together. So if things got you down and you're depressed and you think you need to talk to somebody, I recommend you call the Farm Stress Line, 1-800-667-4442. And they're 24/7. There's somebody there, and they're not judgmental. They're there to listen. So if you have something bothering you, you need somebody to talk to, please give them a call.
Yeah, that's the Saskatchewan Farm Stress Line. They're there
Yeah.
5 days a year, 24 hours a day. They don't subscribe to call display. They're there for you if you need help. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah. We're all in this together, and they're there for you. They're there for all of us. If you need it, if I need it, I'll call it. Actually, I've called it in the past, so it's just, it is what it is, and, you have to learn how to deal with stuff, and that's the great tool that we have to deal with stuff. Well, I have to say, folks, this has been a world of fun. So if you're on TikTok, just type in Kale, and you'll come across a really fun channel to watch. Kale, it's been an outright pleasure to have you sit down for the last couple hours here and BS with us. I've enjoyed it. I like you and appreciate you even more now after hearing your stories and the journey you've gotten through to get to where you're at in your farm and where you're going to next. So if anybody's out there got a 4880 Massey and you want an old Stagger, just give Kale a call. He'll hook you up. But thanks, guys. I appreciate all the guys and gals out here listening. Tyler and I do it just for the fun of doing this. So just relax. We got more episodes going to come. We're going to do more. We got hopefully get some really good guests lined up in the future. So thanks, everybody. We're the Bunny Hug Farmers. We're on Spotify, and we keep hoping to have a little fun. Keep trying to bring agriculture to the limelight here in Canada. So thanks, everybody.